of the biggest obstacles that I hear about frequently on meditations is people complain that their mind wanders too much. And it's a surprise to many of us to find out that that's what our minds do. They wander when they're not doing something specific, if we're not focused on something. And in photography, we're so often focused on a particular subject, whether it's the subject that we're photographing, the camera equipment, the settings on the camera, the lighting, the composition, that we forget to be creative, or we don't realize that if we practice mind wandering, we can become more creative, not only as photographers, but in our everyday life. It can even improve our relationships and how we perform in our work settings. Recent research is showing that very specific brain regions activate when our minds wander, and the right kind of wandering can really help us become more creative and higher in our performance. So what are some of those things? Without getting too technical, the brain regions involve some of the cognitive functioning, the higher level functioning, the executive functions of the brain, and also what's come to be known in the last couple of decades as the default mode network. This is a area of the brain, very specific, measurable, that when we're not focused on something specific, the brain becomes very active and does other things. So having an awareness of this through meditation practices, we can actually practice mind wandering. Daydreaming is a form of mind wandering that can be useful, and it gives us practice of letting our minds wander with attention, paying attention to it while we're doing it. Another technique that we can use is a technique called remote association, also known as brainstorming. And yes, it's possible to brainstorm with one brain. You don't need a whole committee or a whole group, a whole team together. There are ways to sit down and just allow our brains to come up with solutions to problems, various solutions, maybe solutions that we normally wouldn't consider. Doesn't mean that we have to do them, just that to consider them is useful for the brain to be able to check in with that kind of processing and wandering. And of course, nature, going outside, being out and about, is healthy for us in so many ways, but it also invites creativity. Because nature consists of so much of the unknown and chaos, so to speak. Just looking around, the area that I'm at, there's hardly a straight line around. It might be in the bridge that's behind me. The mind will engage with nature, with the animals, the insects, the flowers, the plants, the wind, the temperature, all of it, to make sense of it. And when we do that with intention, tremendous health benefits as well as adding to our creativity. Then another technique, the last one I'm going to talk about here, is revisiting other creative ideas. Throughout life, we tend to come up with a bright idea, and somehow we'll talk ourselves out of it and set it aside and forget about it. Maybe months later, years later, decades later, we can bring it back into awareness and check in with it again. See if we can approach it from different angles, from different directions, different perspectives. Each of these steps are useful ways to develop a sense of creativity. And creativity is unique to every individual. That's one of the things that the research is finding, is to measure creativity is becoming difficult for them. There's descriptors of it, but it's unique for each of us. And in photography, definitely, creativity can open us to photograph things in a new way that maybe nobody else has done, seeing things uniquely. Let's go for a wander.